Welcome to the second Coping with COVID-19 Small Business Town Hall of 2021. This will be an open forum for attendees to ask any questions you have regarding your small business and the impact that COVID-19 has had on it. I am Joe Lidnicki, your moderator this morning. I am an economist with the University of Nevada, Reno Extension in the Community and Economic Development Program. Today's Coping with COVID-19 Town Hall will start with a short update from the SBA. We will then have a presentation regarding specifics on the PPP loans. Through the Town Hall, panelists will answer questions from the audience. To submit a question, please type in the chat or the Q&A your name, the type of business that you are in, and your full question. You may start asking questions now, and we will get through as many questions as we can, with the Town Hall ending around 10 a.m. Excuse me. But now let me introduce our panel. Our first panelist is Reina Mendez. Reina is a business development instructor for UNR Extension with specialties including marketing and international trade. Good morning, Reina.
Good morning, Joe. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here today.
And good morning, Facebook. You forgot Facebook.
Good morning, Facebook. I know. Post your question.
Our next panelist is Juan Salas, also a business development instructor for UNR Extension. Juan is also an enrolled agent with specialties including taxes and finances. Good morning, Juan.
Good morning, everybody. Happy to be here.
Next, we have Mike Bintrip, research associate with UNR Extension. Mike has 13 years of experience in small business counseling with specialties in advertising and design. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Joe. Good morning, everybody.
Our next panelist is Alfredo Cedonio, outreach and marketing specialist with the Nevada SBA. Alfredo's specialty areas include marketing and business processes. Good morning, Alfredo.
Good morning, Joe. Good morning, panel. Good morning, Facebook. And good morning, everyone else I didn't mention.
Next, we have Saul Ramos, Deputy District Director for the Small Business Administration, Nevada. Saul is versed in oversight economics and business development for small businesses. Good morning, Saul.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Glad to be on.
Next, we have Gabriella Wyatt, Assistant Vice President and Business Banking Development Consultant with USBank. Good morning, Gabriella.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here.
And our final panelist today is Noe Gonzalez, Senior Business Advisor and Outreach Liaison with Prestamos. Good morning, Noe.
Good morning, Joseph. Good morning, panel. Good morning to our audience. In the name of Prestamos CDFI, thank you for having us.
Thank you to all of our panelists for taking time out of their days to be here and answer the audience's questions. But first, we go to Alfredo and Saul with updates from the SBA. So please take it away.
Sure. First and foremost, again, thanks to the UNR Extension team for putting on this great webinar and platform week after week. It's been a great opportunity to flow information regarding whether it be PPP, EIDL, or all the other great things that we have going on with SBA. So, I like to start by breaking it down in, I'll call them 4 buckets of what we got going on with PPP, and EIDL, and the Shutter Venue program, and the debt relief. So let me start with the Shutter Venue Operating Grant Program. That is one program that's going to be rolling out soon. We had a webinar last week, and it was a very informal webinar just to get everybody acquainted with what's going to be coming down the pipeline. And as you see on the screen, this is going to be for live venue operators, for promoters, performing arts, theaters that have been in operation prior to February 29, 2020. Now, as you see on the last bullet, it's a grant program. And if you do apply for this one, you are not or will not be eligible for the PPP, and vice versa. If you apply for the PPP, you won't be eligible for this one. Now, it has not opened up yet with the sense of where do you submit the application. And it's going to be done through a platform. SBA is still working on that. Since it's a grant program, SBA is going to be establishing a platform to make sure that you apply and so forth. So right now it's a lot of informal information that we're sharing, but just stand by because we're going to have another webinar. It's most likely going to be done by the SBA headquarters office, and they'll dive a little bit more into the details. So that's one of the first buckets that I wanted to touch upon, because it's a grant program. And as I said, it will be rolling out in the next couple of days. The other program that we have going on, and it just came out, as a matter of fact, yesterday with some updated policy, is the SBA debt relief. If you recall, last year, we, the SBA, were paying the principal and interest for folks that had an SBA loan. Okay, so these are folks that had an SBA loan, such as the 504, what we refer to, or the 7A, or a microloan, not the economic injury disaster loan per se. Okay, so if you had one of those, the SBA was paying the principal and interest. They're rolling it out again. Yesterday, we received like a 42-page guidance on it, so we're still catching up. But the skinny version that I could tell you is that SBA, again, will be rolling out this debt relief program. It could be in a payment of 3 months, or it could be 5 months, or it could be 8 months. As I said, there's a lot of nuances that we're dealing with. They're sort of, if you're this, if you're that. So, but the biggest takeaway is that there is that debt relief program is just part of the other relief that SBA is offering. So again, stand by, more to come on that. So the last note on the debt relief is that if you did have a disaster loan, you know, and this was a prior disaster loan, maybe disasters that happened with Hurricane Sandy or other natural disaster, there is, again, that debt relief for those type of loans, and that will go up through March 31st of 2021. So again, 2 buckets that I've covered so far. We'll dive into the PPP a little bit more. Alfredo will take care of that. If we can go to the next slide, please, Joseph. The other bucket that I'll refer to as the economic injury disaster loan. One of the key things that I want to mention is that if you received an economic injury disaster loan advance, remember that was the advance that we were giving up to $1,000. I mean, up to $10,000. Some folks got $1,000 per employee, so it was kind of a little bit back and forth there, Dance. That no longer, if you got an economic injury disaster loan advance, it will no longer be deducted from the payment protection forgiveness. Okay, so that's a big change because that was occurring. And when that was being done, when it was deducted from the PPP forgiveness, then you ended up with a loan. Again, that's been removed, so that's not happening thanks to all the changes that came down the pipeline. The other thing I want to mention about the economic injury disaster loan, known as the EIDL, is that it still remains open if you want to apply, and that remains open up till December 31st. Remember, that's the 30-year loan at a 3.75. You should have started your business prior to, I believe, January 31st of last year. There is a 1-year deferment, so it's a huge advantage to that if you apply for it and if you're approved. A little note about the economic injury disaster loan advance. There is talk that for those that did not get the full $10,000, that the agency is going to go back and pay the difference. That's a little bit of what we know. There is going to be more guidance and more details on regarding who's going to get the difference and who's not. So more to come on that. If we can go on to the next slide, and I'll pass it over to Alfredo.
Thanks, Saul, and thanks everybody for having us. Folks, we've got some really exciting news as of yesterday. Most banks, if not all banks that are that want to participate in PPP Round 2, large or small, can now accept PPP Round 2 and Round 1 applications. So that's excellent news. That's really good news for everybody, because if you hadn't applied, through your bank, if they choose to accept PPP applications this round, is now taking applications. So that's really great news for everybody, and hopefully it's going to help out a lot of our community. But moving on to SBA loan programs Round 2, how do you know if you can apply for Round 2 PPP loans? Well, If you applied for round 1 PPP loan and got it, you can apply for round 2. So if you haven't applied for a PPP at all, you have to apply for the first round, which is still fine. However, the difference this time is you cannot have more than 300 employees if you're applying for round 2. Your gross revenues had to have declined 25%, at least 25% from 2020 to 2019, and you had to have been in business February 15th of 2020. And also, we're talking about so how much? So how much will you actually be able to receive for your second round PPP loan? 2.5 times your payroll. How do you calculate that? I'm sure Noe Gonzalez and Gabriela are going to go into this a little bit later, but let me just go over it really quickly. It's your average payroll, 2.5 year times your average payroll. So if you're thinking your average payroll is a certain amount for the year, you divide that by 12, and then you multiply that by 2.5. Or if you are in NAICS code 72, NAICS meaning North American Industry Classification Systems, if you are a restaurant or in the accommodation services, then you get 3.5 times. So you multiply that number by 3.5 instead of 2.5. You still have to use, in order to get forgiven, you still have to use 60% of that PPP on payroll, but the rest can be on other expenses. You can of course use it on 100% on payroll, but at least must be on 60 in order to get forgiven. And the last day to apply for PPP is March 31st, 2021. A question I've been getting a lot during our many Q&As that we do here these last couple of weeks is, how do you get your loan number? Because to apply for PPP2, you must have or must be able to get your loan number from round PPP1. A lot of folks, I'm getting a lot of calls, they don't have it on hand. Well, your bank should make it readily available to you. Keyword being should. So it should be there. Hopefully they have it. Hopefully they can give it to you. But if they cannot, for any reason, if they don't get it, you can reach out to us. You can reach out to me specifically, and I have a way to look that up and send it to you. That's actually what's been keeping me busy these last couple of days. People are just reaching out, needing their PPP round 1 loan number. Let's see, I think that's all I have, unless there's another slide that I need to cover.
No, I think you're all good there,
I think
Alfred.
that's it. Okay, thank you.
So Alfredo and Saul, thank you very much for the updates. SBA's participation in this town hall and continued engagement with the community is greatly appreciated always. But now we go on to Gabriela and Noe with their presentation on PPP loans. So please take it away.
Hi. So the whole now we have heard about some updates from SBA. What we wanted to do in this presentation is provide like a opinion and suggestions, tips, everything that we can make things easier for the business community throughout the process. You know, we know about the updates, we know about the new rules, the new requirements. So how is that going to translate into actual, money into the business accounts? And they already have introduced themselves, Gabriela and Noe. Thank you for being here. And let's begin with, what about if there's an ongoing forgiveness regarding the PPP? We heard that you can apply for a second, but what about if there's an ongoing forgiveness process? A lot of the forgiveness process has stopped last year because of all the new regulations and things like that. But can I still apply? Should I be worried? There's some myth going on out there that if you did not receive the forgiveness from the first one, you cannot apply for the second one.
Ladies
Hi,
are first.
Juan. This
Gabriela,
is
please.
Gabriela, everybody. I'll let... Okay. Thank you, Noe. I was going to say mine will be somewhat quick just because, first of all, we just opened up our platform yesterday. So aside from the process and some information I can provide, Noe might have more in-depth since he started last week. But in terms of the ongoing forgiveness itself, we actually have stopped the platform and being able to accept forgiveness. Again, as you mentioned, we were waiting on new legislations in hopes of for loans being forgiven at a higher amount versus the 50,000, which of course it happened. So now it's at 150,000 versus 50,000, will be much more of an automated process. But good question. I actually spoke to a couple customers yesterday who were concerned and were told from other banks that if their initial loan was not forgiven, they could not apply for a second. That is not correct. I don't know what banks are saying that. I didn't ask because I didn't want to speak ill of others, but nonetheless, you do not have to have your first loan forgiven in order to apply for the second. Did you want to add anything to that, Noah?
Yes. Basically, our situation on Prestamos CDFI is pretty much the same at USBank in the sense that if you are a small business owner and you are requesting the second draw of the PPP, you don't need to have the forgiveness of your first draw of PPP, either with us or with any other financial institution that you maybe got your first round of PPP. Of course, every single financial institution, CDFI bank, got their own internal ruling. In our case, we still have opened the platform for forgiveness. However, we are not encouraging no one to go for forgiveness right now because the influx of applications for PPP use came like big and sudden. So we are fully concentrated on trying to get all those resources to the small business owners that need it right now to survive. We are basically in the middle of the winter. We're starting the year. There is a lot of economic uncertainty still. So the priority number one for every single small business owner should be survival. Should be right now, succeeding means survival. And this second round of PPP is basically the lifeline to survive until the economic landscape gets better, so to speak.
Let's go ahead and apply.
Let's going to put on the side. Let's going to put us. We want to invite at least, and this is our perspective. Okay, as Gabriel said, we don't know about other banks, but in our case, in our particular case, we're saying the client, look, don't worry about right now about forgiveness. You have 24 weeks for using of funds, right? Whenever you got them. Then you have another 10 months after that to ask for forgiveness. So let's say that you, a small business owner, got your first draw of PPP on June of 2020, and you are on a 24-week use of funds period. You have until December 2020 to use them, right? Then you have another 10 months to ask for forgiveness, which is going to be basically, I don't know, September, October this year, depending when you ask for the first time PPP. So instead of going on all the nuances and all the work that takes to get all the documentation to support forgiveness, better concentrate on getting your documents ready to apply for the second draw of PPP.
Mm-hmm. And that brings us to the next
That's a great
step.
Point.
Yeah, documentation. I've been talking with Gabriela and Noé about their processes and how smooth and easy are things. And first suggestion is try to do the second PPP with the institution that helped you with the first PPP. That's kind of the overall suggestion, but you can go somewhere else as well. I mean, if you did not have a good experience or are not able to, for whatever reason, to request the second PPP with the first institution, you can do so. So options are open. You do not have to go with the first one that you already use. You can go with another one. There's some simplification of using the same institution. But what are the documents that if they want to start with a new institution, for example, what are the documents that they should be able to have ready on that particular case?
Hey guys, can I just interject a little bit? I know Gabriela and Noé made a comment about the PPP forgiveness for the first round. And yeah, you're right. They don't have to have it forgiven per se. Now, this is just a heads up. You know, the SBA has established processes to handle the second draw of PPP applications. Within that process is that they are reviewing to make sure that if, for example, there was a forgiveness application in the pipeline, that it gets reviewed first. So I mentioned that because there is a little bit more of a slower turnaround time, or as Juan mentioned, a more organized way that the agency is doing this. So just bear with us and be patient, because that process is that the SBA established this second time around is adding a couple of more days before the funds are issued. And the reason why it's adding a couple of more days, it's because of that. SBA has a way that they're looking to make sure that there are no integrity issues that
Funny
we're
business
overseeing.
going on.
Yeah.
So Saul, so then just to clarify, if I'm understanding correctly, if you have a pending application that's in forgiveness, then there is somewhat of a delay. But if it's not in a forgiveness process, you can still apply.
That's correct. That's correct. So if you have, that's it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for that
This is a wonderful
clarification.
town hall, because we can get all the information on the right places.
Instead of emailing each other. So I just wanted, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joseph.
That's all right. Since we were in the middle of some questions and discussion, we do have a question from the audience that I was hoping that we could get to, from Tamara Brown, asking, how does the applicant indicate which year payroll costs were calculated from? The form doesn't have a field for this information. Does your bank ask this question from the applicants?
What was the question? Can you repeat that? I didn't understand her question.
The audio cut off for a second. Could you please
Is she talking about round two?
I'm not positive on that.
So I think the question is, if once they put the amount of payroll to be considered for the calculation, do they have to indicate in what particular quarter it is from, or
they use
or
2019 or 2020? That, I think, is the question.
Yes.
Correct. So most customers are just basically mirroring the loan that they received for the first round of PPP. So the basic, for at least on our platform, most customers, if you got a first round, you just indicate that dollar amount. You want to mirror that dollar amount with the same documentation, with the exception of providing the 25% loss of gross income. So that's where that difference is. So most people, again, are going to utilize the 2019 funds simply because if you're going to use 2020, you might end up making less. Is that what you're doing as well, Noé, or what are you recommending? Is it really just based on what the customer, because some businesses, depending on the business type, actually ended up making more money in 2020, but not necessarily in quarters 1 and 2, but for whatever reason did make more money in 2020. So that's really up to you, and you would utilize your 941 and the calculation would be the same, where you divide it, as Noé mentioned earlier, I believe you're going to divide it by 12 months within that year, and then multiply it by 2.5, or depending on your industry, 3.5. And that will give you the calculation and loan amount. I hope that answered your question.
Noé, do you need to differentiate between the payroll, if the payroll amount was from 2019 or 2020?
In the case of the clients that apply for first draw with us, basically they can use 2019, and actually most of the clients are using 2019 because the payroll was higher than 2020. There are a few clients that maybe got more payroll on 2020, but for the most part, 2019 was higher. However, it's to the discretion of the client. If some client got a higher payroll on 2020, they can use 2020. Of course, they are going to need to provide with the 4 quarters of 941s or the 940, along with the payroll summary and the bank statements showing that payroll. Whenever, in our case, whenever we see an increase on the eligible amount, we need the full supporting documentation. Other than that, they can use the same documentation they used for 2019.
May I add a little bit here, just for a quick moment here, guys?
Yes.
I'm going to read this verbatim from our interim final rule. Okay, I'm just going to read this. So, in this rulemaking, Treasury is addressing the needs of new PPP borrowers by allowing all new borrowers to use 2019 or 2020 for purposes of calculating their maximum loan amount. The borrowers are to calculate their maximum loan amount by using payroll costs incurred during the 1-year period before the date on which the loan is made. For PPP loans made in 2020, most borrowers use 2019. So hopefully
that's perfect.
Some value there.
Clear. See, everybody's adding more ingredients to the answer. This is perfect. So yes, if you're gonna keep the same amount, probably you're gonna use 2019 figures. If there are any changes you think you want to apply for you should apply for a larger amount, you're going to have to provide new documentation from 2020. And some of the requirements, of course, Nevada state business license showing that you were operational for that particular period. And unfortunately, many new businesses cannot use this PPP, but that's not the purpose of the PPP. And have your tax returns. Even though your business does not have a separate tax return, all the information that you need is on your Schedule C for your personal taxes. That will show your NICS number as well, and the amount of payroll as a sole proprietor that you can use. And most important, I think we heard a lot of, but it's worth repeating, that do not disqualify yourself, right? Do not disqualify. There are the first PPP was very simple. Now we have more requirements, but that doesn't mean that you have to just disqualify yourself. If you were an independent contractor, apply. Look at your numbers and see if you can get some assistance. And very important, if you had independent contractors, that's not payroll. It's very important to differentiate between what is an employee and what is an independent contractor. If you had employees, you had to do W-2s, 941, 940 reporting. If you don't know those forms, probably you did not have employees, okay? If you issue 1099s, 1096 last year, those are independent contractors. They should apply by themselves separately for their own PPP. I hope that I explained that correctly.
Hey Juan, can I add a few things?
Sure.
Because that 1099 independent contractor, as much as I think we all did our best to explain that the way that you did and make sure that independent contractors applied on their own and that if they had a business that they didn't include them, the fact and the reality is that some folks, whether it be on the borrower side, accidentally did that, or whether it be on the lender side, accidentally did that. There is new policy that is looking at that. For example, for those that were caught up in that during the first round and got more than they should have, there is guidance. So feel free to reach out to our district office and we'll help you navigate that. We'll share with you the guidance that is provided. It's pretty much going to be, how to navigate it, whether it be on the borrower side or on the lender side. So rest assured that, we'll do our best to give you the accurate guidance, but for the most part, it might turn into a loan. I think a lot of people are kind of worried and say to you, oh my goodness, I wasn't trying to do anything fraudulent. This was an honest mistake and so forth. So there is a course of action to resolve this.
Exactly. If you have independent contractors, the best thing you can do is share this video with them. They will have all the information, all the contact information to apply for their own PPP. So let's move to the other slide.
Juan,
Go ahead.
can you just a quick addition to that, because I think that's very important. First draft was a situation right there, and seems like it's again many people coming and applying and saying, look, I have these 5 employees and I want my PPP. Okay, show me your 940. No, I pay him with 1099. Well, again, if you pay someone with 1099, you cannot apply for PPP for that 1 or 2 or 5 or as many as you have. However, they can apply for themselves.
Yes.
So be nice and tell them, you know what, my friend, I pay you with 1099. You can apply for PPP. Look, here's the video from Nevada Extension, and they are going to tell you where to apply and go and get your PPP. I mean, I cannot get the benefit for my company, but you can get it for yourself. Because another situation is that we are finding out right now that we have a good amount of first draw independent contractors that didn't apply the first time because they believe they were not eligible. They believe, oh, it's the owner of the company that pays me, the one that is supposed to get a PPP. No, if you get paid with a 1099, you are an independent contractor and you can apply for yourself. So please come review these videos and apply for your PPP.
Always, if you had a profit, of course.
Of course, yes. Well, yes.
Yes. So if your business...
That's another subject.
Yes, that's another subject, but very important. If your business had a loss, there's no, there's no PPP assistance. That's not the purpose of the PPP. So this new requirement for the second draw, 25% less. It is very important to help me clarify this. 25% of what? My net income, my gross income, 25% of money that I pay myself.
Yes. Basically, the small business owner or independent contractor or whomever is asking for PPP, requesting PPP funding, needs to demonstrate a negative impact of 25% in gross income.
Gross income, that's before expenses.
Yes, for most of the small business owner, that means gross sales. The total amount in food that your taco stand sold last year, the total amount that you bill for landscaping services, the total amount that you bill for air dressing, I don't know, whatever is your business.
Let me ask you, maybe SBA can help with that. Let me ask you a very common question. In that gross sale, should I consider my EIDL advance, for example, the grant that I got? If I got $10,000, out of assistance, is that part of my gross income for this particular application? 25%.
Go ahead, Phil. I don't know the answer to this one.
Yeah, I would suggest to exclude that because it's a grant along with any PPP first round. Because if you were to include it, your numbers are going to be off. Look at it as kind of a capital injection, right? That came from the federal government. So your numbers are going to be off, and it's not a true realistic
yes, it was not gross sale. It was not something that it was produced from your hard work labor. And I think this is very important because there are some people that just add up all their income or all the deposits in their bank account, and that's 10,000 grant from EIDL advance. They got another loan from Clark County maybe. So those are not gross income for this particular calculation. So that can actually disqualify you if you include those amounts. So be careful of what you put on the formula on your calculation when you are trying to see if you made less money, the 25%.
Just to add to that, Juan, yes, so that's the situation. We are asking not to include any loans on any type as a gross revenue. And actually, the IRS, and please help me with this one, Juan. I don't think the PPP, the first draw, is going to be considered income
No,
for tax purposes. So
it's not.
therefore, if the IRS says it's no gross income, then there is no gross income. So ideally, every single small business owner should have a profit and loss statement of 2019 and 2020. And with the profit and loss statement is really easy, because then any loan is not going to be on the gross income. It's going to be on the line pertaining to income from financial sources. How many of our small business owners got their profit and loss statement for 2019 and 2020? Very few. What we are suggesting, if for any reason they could not, they are not able to get these profits and loss, well, we designed a little tool that we are sharing with our community, and we are asking to use their bank statements to prove that. Let me also clarify, a bank statement is a poor indicator of gross income, but since there is no other document to support that, is the best solution to that problem. And the only caveat is going to be to subtract amount received from PPP, ADL, or any other loan from them, along with a note, a document, and a statement from the owner clarifying, signed, and sent along with that documentation.
And this second PPP, even though there are requirements, there's a lot of trust to facilitate the process. So I think many institutions are just giving you like a check mark, yes, you have received, or you suffered 25% negative impact in your business, therefore you can continue with the process, right? There's a lot of trust going on in this second PPP.
In our case, we are encouraging everybody to use the small tool I'm talking about to calculate the 25%. There are a few small business owners that they got their profit and loss statements already for both years, 2019, 2020. The ones that not, we are encouraging to use the tool, and it's really easy to use. And for example, restaurants, we know they were closed for 3-4 months, so for they is really easy to demonstrate.
Okay, and there's I understand there's two types of calculation for this 25%. Oh, Gabriel, I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
Oh, no, I was just agreeing with Noé.
Okay. There are two ways to calculate the 25%. First, you have to look at the total number, 2019 gross income between 2020 total gross income for the annualized number. If that doesn't help you, if that doesn't take you to the 25% difference, then you can break it up into quarters, correct? So compare 2019 first quarter to 2020 first quarter.
That is correct.
Correct. And,
okay.
I'll just speak on my experience. Again, I've only done this for 1 day since yesterday when we opened our portal. Some of the customers that I helped utilize Q1 or Q2 because those were the most impactful. So they're not really using a full year's worth of comparison. It's just selecting one specific quarter that will show that loss. One customer had a loss of 4% of sales in Q2 from 2019 to 2020. So that is the quarter that she decided to utilize. And you did mention something about trust, and I think understand kind of what you're gearing towards is that for our portal, any loan that's $150,000 or less, there's really a certification of questions that you have to go through. You don't necessarily have to upload that information to demonstrate and show the 25%, but there will be a point where you will have to have it. And I think that's really just to streamline and to facilitate the PPP round 2 much quicker versus having to go through all the paperwork. And that's really only if you had the first round with us. If it's a brand new loan and you're getting the second round with us, but you didn't get the first round with us, it's going to be the same process and amount of paperwork that you would have with another lender.
Perfect. Yes, and this is overall with the idea of facilitating, trying to get the money in the hands of the business owners as soon as possible. And with that, you know, self-certification, you don't have to provide that much documentation, but you have to keep your records and documents.
So be prepared.
Be prepared. Be prepared. Exactly. So let's not abuse the trust.
Just to add a little bit to what Gabriela said, and I think we are more, for the most part, on the same line. A good advice to our small business owners is get ready all your bank statements of 2019 and 2020. Get also handy, hopefully you can get a profit and loss statement of 2019 and 2020, because either sooner or later at the time of forgiveness, you are going to need to demonstrate the 25%. If you don't got affected 25% on your, and this is important, I think, to mention, and please, SBA, Alfredo and Saul, correct me if I'm not correct. If for some reason you get a second draw of PPP based on good faith, and then at the time of the forgiveness, you cannot document that you got a negative impact of 25% on 2020 on your gross sales compared to 2019, that is going to convert to an actual loan that you need to repay back with a 1% interest. Alfredo, Saul, am I correct?
I was on the phone. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll take this one, Alfredo. Yeah, that's correct, Noe. And I think that's the important piece of it, right? That we're trying to make sure that you do, we'll call your due diligence now and not wait to the very end, and for it to be a surprise for you and the lender. So the key thing here is do your due diligence now. Make sure that you run the numbers, that you have the supporting documentation. Although technically on the form, it says, you know, that you don't have to submit it. The reality is that, you know, some lenders may ask for it just because at the end of the day, they want to make sure that they help you. And not only that, you know, it's going to be a liability for them. So yes, it will turn into a loan if you are unable to document and support that there was a 25% reduction. And remember, if it does convert into a loan, it's going to be at a 1% interest. I believe it's for 5 years. And if you recall, the PPP does not have any personal guarantee or no collateral. So,
not a bad loan. Great. That's great information. And how are the platforms behaving? Everything good? Did you guys get any too much traffic yesterday over the last week? How are the platforms handling?
I know for us yesterday, I was able to, we actually have a process where we can interface with the customer while they're on the platform, and I can see exactly what they're doing. And it actually, I mean, it wasn't super fast, but maybe that was my computer as well. Maybe our network internally was having some issues, but the customer said it went by really fast. It was a completely different experience from the first round where it kept, you know, just thinking, and sometimes it would just shut out, it would kick them out. But so far, the people that I helped yesterday was a good experience. But again, these were second-time borrowers, so I haven't yet had a first-time borrower again. Great question.
Good news. I think we can.
But Noé's been in it for a while now, so.
We have learned a lot from the first PPP, and I think we're more ready for the second one.
In our case, Juan, we got a dedicated team processing those applications, and pretty much same as Gabriela for the second time borrowers is moving fast. for the first-time borrowers, especially because some of them were not familiar with the documentation. Yes, it takes a little bit longer. Now, in the one very important thing, in the previous slide, you had a picture of one sample, actually, of a Nevada business license. And that's very important. Many second-time borrowers, second draw PPP, small business applying for it, got their business license expired. And they were like, you got it on file. Yes, the one we have in file expired last year in November. You need to go and pay your business license and upload one that is not expired.
Okay,
So,
good to know.
so very important for all the small business owners that are trying to apply, please make sure that your license is not expired, because if it is, you are not at least with us, you're not eligible. You got to prove that your business is still open. And it's not only answering the questions. We want the proof that your business is still in operation.
That's the whole purpose of the PPP, correct?
Yes, for the purpose of the PPP. Let me mention something real quick. Someone came and said, oh, you know what? I closed my business last year around in the worst of the pandemic, July, August, after I got my PPP, but now I open it again. Yes, did you reopen the old one? No, I opened a new LLC. Guess what? You don't qualify. You don't qualify
because you
now.
were not open.
You cannot prove now that you were, and now your payroll and your EIN is different and everything is different. So if you are going to do any adjustment on your business, or you're trying to do adjustments on your business, contact your lawyer, your accountant, your tax prep, your advisor. Sometimes the best thing to do is just do amendments on the old business structure. But again, that's something completely up to you, and talk with your advisor, whomever that is.
Mm-hmm. And just to
Great point, Noe.
Thank you.
Any business structure changes might affect the second application of the PPP. So I don't think we have that many questions about how to calculate the PPP especially because they are applying for the same amount of PPP, plus we can add more eligible expenses for the forgiveness. This time around, we can add, construction and changes for to make the business more adequate for the pandemic and things like that. So I don't think expenses are going to be a problem for the use of the funds. But it is very important to know that if you are considering a new amount, get to know your tax return, especially if you are in the restaurant business. If you are on any bars and things like that, make sure that you can apply for the 3.5% factor now, because that really makes a difference. That 1% more money coming in, it's really important. Have you seen a lot of restaurants coming in, getting first in line now? Noe, Gabriela?
Gabriela, you
Yes.
first, please. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Well, I mean, again, I only started yesterday, but out of the 9 people that I helped, 4 were restaurants, but I have more lined up for today.
Mm-hmm.
And
Perfect.
throughout the rest of the week.
That's good. So they can take advantage of the new 3.5 factor. Noe, do you have more restaurants coming in?
Yes, and actually, I am glad that we are looking at something we didn't see before. Not only restaurants, but also taco trucks, catering service, banquet service, certain type of accommodations, like those little hotels, motels. Whatever starts on the NAICS code in 72 is going to qualify for the 3.5 or the equivalent of 3.5 months of payroll cost to be covered by PPP. Now, this is an important remark that I want to share with you and boils down to taxes. Sometimes the restaurant operator or the person with the food truck or catering service, they never got an EIN number. That's very important. If you have a business, it doesn't matter how small is that, please get an EIN number and ask your tax prep to include the NAICS code on your tax filing every year. Because sometimes people is in the food industry, but they are sole props, I understand, or LLCs. And they go file for taxes, and the only thing they put right there is their name, the name of the company, and the social security number. Yes, but in theory, in a perfect world, you should have an EIN number that should be included on your tax return, and you should ask your tax prep to also include your NAICS code on your tax return, especially on your Schedule C or whatever is the case. So that way, it's really easy for you as a small business owner to prove that yes, you're registered with the IRS as an employer, and that you are on the right industry for the NAICS code.
Yeah, and this PPP SBA has teach a lot of business owners to redefine the structure of their tax returns. You know, the lines, what do they actually mean? And if you have on Schedule C, line 31, that's where you have your net profit. That's the amount that you're gonna consider to divide by 12 and then multiply by 2.5 or 3.5 factor to come up with your PPP loan amount. If you have employees, they're gonna take a look to the form 940, line 3. This form is gonna sum up all your wages for the business. Again, divide by 12 and then multiply by the factor 2.5 or 3.5 depending on your industry. This process of calculating the loan amount should be easy if you already apply for the PPP, but you have to just review that amount. If you can apply for more, go ahead. That's your right. That's the purpose of the SBA loans. Help you out if you can apply for more and you can use that money. If not, yeah, go ahead with the first amount. Just make sure you comply with the requirements of the 25% negative impact and save your documents, because there's gonna be another forgiveness of second PPPs coming down the road for this year, definitely. Are there any other tips, Noe or Gabriela, that you are suggesting, or you see that, you know what, and there's a lot of clients coming with certain expectations, but they should consider this or that?
First of all,
I think Saul and Noe mentioned earlier. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Gabriela. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I was just going to say, they mentioned earlier, regardless if you will need your paperwork or not, come prepared and have it ready. Make sure you save it in a certain file. Make sure you just have it readily available, because you never know when it'll be needed and when your lender will request it. Other than that, again, yesterday was my first day, and it was a very simple process throughout with my clients that I helped. So hopefully I'll have more to share the next time we convene.
Thank you, Gabriela. Noe, tips, suggestions?
Yes, please get all your documentation ready. Even if you are applying in good faith and your lender approves you to apply in good faith for the second draw of the PPP, please make yourself the test of the 25%. At least that way, if you apply and get it, and you don't have, and you got on the, basically it's this. you have, as a small business owner, you need to know what you are applying for, and you need to be 100% conscious that if at some point you cannot prove that 25% reduction on gross income on 2020 versus 2019, you will need to pay that second drop PPP back. So please be conscious with that. If it takes you 20 minutes, maybe, to download your bank statements if you don't have profit and loss, and make the test for yourself. Second, if you made any changes on your business structure, get ready your articles of amendment. You will need that. And number 4, make sure your business license has been paid and is current. Number 5, if you got some big variation on payroll in 2020, it's almost never the case. Please get ready to apply for that. However, remember that it's always supporting documentation what you need. And I think some on the chat we have another.
We have a question. Yes. Let's start with the first one actually.
Okay.
They do have to be a standard calendar quarters for the calculation.
That's just an answered. That's an answered question to an already answered question.
Okay,
so
perfect.
Disregard.
Then if 2019 average payroll cost was calculated incorrectly, they didn't include themselves. Can they request a PPP loan amount, first PPP loan amount to be adjusted? So basically the question, hey, maybe I should have got more on my first PPP. What can I do about that? Can I still do something about that? Or just focus on the second one?
They have to request for a PPP loan increase.
Okay. And that would be separate for regard. That's not going to affect the possibility of getting a second PPP, I guess.
Yeah, and Tamara, you should go back to your lender.
Not that I'm aware of. Yes. Yeah. It shouldn't affect a second round, but if there was miscalculations in the first round, to their detriment, they definitely want to go back and request the increase. And I'm sure Saul or Alfredo will go over this, but if you go to the SBA website, it'll give a calculation worksheet on what to do for an increase.
Is there
your lender should have that form.
Okay. So that increase, it has to go through the lender. It doesn't have to go through the SBA directly, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, not with the SBA.
No, no, but the SBA website will give you the information.
Okay, so you gather the information from the SBA website. That information is going to educate you about how to talk to your lender and what forms or requirements there might be. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
Correct.
So Saul, Alfredo, any last words? Because Joe is showing up, so that means we are out of time.
Just a really quick plug for me. So folks, small business owners, if you have questions, you can always email us at it's going to go to everybody. It's NVDO for Nevada District Office at sba.gov. And our telephone number, I typed it in incorrectly. Unfortunately, I used my area code. It's 702-388-6611. Again, 702-388-6611. Reach out to us. Let us know what you need. We're here to help. Thank you.
Saul, last tips?
I think Saul's on the call right now.
Yeah, Saul's on the call right now,
like
so no problem.
Multitasking.
Yeah, so...
sorry, tied up.
Joe, I know it's going to be a busy day for everybody. Joe, take it away.
Yes, that does end our available time for today for the Coping with COVID-19 Town Hall. Thank you to everyone who has attended. We hope the information shared here today was helpful. Thank you to all of our panelists, Alfredo and Saul from the SBA, Gabriela from USBank, Noe from Prestamos, and Mike Juan and Reina from UNR Extension. I know that there were a lot of questions here today. If you have any additional questions, please visit our website at extension.unr.edu/BusDev. There we have multiple resources, but we also have a contact form So if you need to get in contact with somebody and you didn't see their contact information here, please go through there, go to that contact form, and we will get back to you with whatever information that you need or that we can help with. Absolutely. Please join us again next week for our next Spanish language town hall, or 2 weeks from today for our next English language town hall. Both those Wednesdays at 9 a.m. as always. But yeah, that's all I've got. I've been your moderator, Joe Lednicki. Please stay safe for Nevada.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, everybody.